this section shall not apply to any member of the General Assembly. Right. So if you're in the General Assembly, you could just wild out. You could probably have a whole rifle in the dashboard. But hey, you're the General Assembly, so it doesn't apply to you. What's good for me and not for thee. I see a lawsuit coming on, but we'll see. We'll see. But those are your top 3 trending X. I wouldn't call them the X post, but they're the top trending topics on X. Oh my goodness, just interesting what's going on in our world. With that, we're going to get to our next bit of news and this is a first that I've known about. So there's an Antifa cell members convicted in Prairieland ICE detention center shooting. So I don't know if you guys remember last year, there was a shooting on ICE officers, and it was a coordinated effort. It wasn't spontaneous, like it was a coordinated effort. It happened in Texas. Well, this is the result of that. So 9 North Texas Antifa cell operatives were convicted today, and today would have been Friday, March 13th, by a federal jury in Fort Worth, Texas, for their roles in rioting, using weapons and explosives, providing material support to terrorist obstruction and attempted murder of the Alvarado police officer and unarmed correctional officers at the Prairieland ICE Detention Center on July 4th, 2025, announced U.S. State's Attorney for the Northern District of Texas, Ryan Raybould. Now, in a 12-day trial that began on February 23rd, 2026, jurors heard testimony from more than 45 witnesses and considered over 210 exhibits supporting the charges against 9 indicted defendants. Okay, I'm not reading all of their names, but there's 9 of them that pled guilty last year to 1 count of providing material support to terrorists. Because you got to remember, Donald Trump did put forth naming Antifa a terrorist organization. Everybody goes, it's not an organization, it's an ideology. Interesting how a whole ideology is extremely coordinated. I'm just saying. So Antifa is a domestic terrorist organization that has been allowed to flourish in Democrat-led cities, not under President Trump, said Attorney General Pam Bondi. Today's verdict on terrorism charges will not be the last as the Trump administration systemically dismantles Antifa and finally halts their violence on American streets. Because here's my thing, if it's such an ideology, why are people running around with Antifa signs? Why are people running around calling themselves Antifa if it's an ideology and not an organization? If it's an ideology, it should never come up again unless someone asks, like, why are you here? Oh, well, we support the Antifa ideology. Okay. But that's not what's happening. That's not what's happening. Sorry. That argument, it's kind of lost. Kind of lost. It's one thing or it's the other. And unfortunately, because of the way it's being carried out, it's functioning more like an organization and not an ideology. So just trying to get down to the meat of the matter. So trial testimony reflected that late at night on July 4th, at least 11 of the defendants rioted and attacked the Prairieland Detention Center in Alvarado, Texas, which the U.S. Department of Homeland Security was using to house illegal aliens awaiting deportation. The defendants, dressed in black bloc, dark clothing, and with head and face coverings that concealed their identities, designed to hide each individual's identity, but also to aid and abet those members engaged in illegal acts by making members indistinguishable from one another to law enforcement. Evidence introduced at trial revealed that the defendants brought 11 firearms, body armor, and 11 military-grade first aid kits with tourniquets and other items for gunshot wounds to the scene of the attack. Many of these items were introduced by the government as exhibits. Additionally, fingerprint evidence linked many of the defendants to the items at the scene, and evidence obtained on phone locations supported that those who participated in the attack all turned off their phones and placed them in Faraday bags to prevent tracking on the night of the attack. So this is extremely coordinated. That's not an ideology. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. Sorry. That's extremely coordinated. Yeah. So after Antifa cell members arrived at Prairieland, they began shooting off and throwing fireworks at the facility and vandalizing facilities at a guard shack in Prairieland. And here are some of the pictures from that. Yeah. And then we have the timestamps of, I guess, emails. Here's one of the emails. The subject on the day before says there's a cop that's been involved in like every major shooting disaster in recent history. Let's say we had good intel on date, time, target combo. What would we do about it? Block roads, slash tires, something else. This is terrorist activity because they're talking about doing this against law enforcement and federal agents. You got to remember, ICE agents are federal agents. They're not just anybody. And their stuff is punishable, minimum 5 years. Impeding their job. So you're blowing up their cars, you're impeding their job, you're impeding the ability for them to do the work. Y'all are talking about messing with people? What's wrong with you? So it says, in this last email says, try to confront a turnout of a lot of people. Wow. My thinking is we can go out and do whatever at any time, but picking a good confrontation is about building momentum. Wow. Try to confront and turn out a lot of people. This is just, it's sick. So here's, I guess, maybe posts that were done, files stored on Evatt's phone, listing Antifa's tactics, striking similar to the defendant's tactics. The key strategy is to be water, aka stay mobile, stay disruptive. I guess this must have been in some of their different chats. And tactics 2 says the black bloc is like Tor. The more people using it, the better it becomes. Wow. So I think the black bloc said that refers to the outfits that they were wearing to make, so they're just, you can't see them. So sad. It's sad that this has happened in our country. And I have the link to this so you guys can go through more of that information on that particular incident that happened. It's just like, whoa, what is happening to our country? That we have people that are turning on federal law enforcement for people that have broken the law that they're trying to get. So ICE's job is to remove people that are here that have broken the law, period. And guess what? You came over here illegally, so you broken the law, period. End of discussion. Stop trying to justify people being here illegally. Stop. They need to go home. If they're not going to leave, on their own, then they need to be removed. And that's just it. And that's ICE's job. That is their job. So to get into this emotional state where you think, well, we just need to stop them from doing their job, what is wrong with you? Like, really, what's wrong with you? But then you have organizations like No Kings and all these other, but yeah, and places like Walmart supports No Kings and all of these other, in my opinion, they're anti-American completely. And they are still walking around free as if nothing happened. That it's that part for me. At a certain juncture, there are some people that just need to go to prison, you know, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with people going to jail if that's what needs to happen. Now, I wanted to jump to one story because I want to kind of keep in the vein of why there are government entities that want to work against the people, which is weird. Like, why are you working against your own people? But hey, maybe that's how you get down, right? But I came across this video of this gentleman who lives in Virginia, and with certain things being passed or not passed right now, and I wanted to check this out so we can get more into this, and then we'll talk a little bit about these sanctuary cities and states.
Governor Abigail Spanberger took office. The first thing she did when she walked into the governor's mansion was sign an executive order mandating that local police no longer work with federal ICE immigration and customs enforcement officials. Essentially, if local police arrest someone who's in this country illegally, an illegal alien, they are not required, they should not contact federal authorities to let them know that they have someone who is in this country illegally in custody. It was a 180 from the way things worked under former Governor Glenn Youngkin, a Republican who was in office for 4 years prior to Spanberger, who is a Democrat. But last night in Lynchburg, the city of Lynchburg, Southside Virginia, we are seeing that city telling Governor Spanberger to take a hike. They will continue to work with ICE just as they have before. I'm Uriah Kaiser. Welcome to Virginia Insider, where we are giving you the news you need to take back your Commonwealth and your community. Go ahead and like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that bell notification to be notified when we post new content about your Virginia. Want to bring this story to you here. The Lynchburg City Council voted unanimously to affirm the city's ongoing cooperation with federal law enforcement agencies. The resolution, which passed 6-0 with Council Member Jacqueline Temmer absent, states that the city will continue to partner with Virginia and federal agencies consistent with city practice and applicable law. The council members and police chief emphasized that measure does not create a new 287G partnership, but simply codifies the existing ad hoc cooperation. The vote followed a failed 2-4 substitute motion to direct Lynchburg PD to enter a formal 287G agreement. Now, those 287G agreements are essentially a cooperation with ICE. So local law enforcement arrests an illegal alien in a community. They bring them to the jail. They book them there. And while they're in the jail, a trained local law enforcement officer in the 287G program calls ICE to tip them off to say, hey, we've got an illegal immigrant in our jail. Please come and pick him up. Now, the outcome preserves Lynchburg's current approach to federal immigration matters amid Virginia's statewide policy shift. On February 4th, 2026, Governor Abigail Spanberger terminated all existing 287G agreements across the Commonwealth, ending former participation by state and local agencies that had previously allowed trained officers to perform certain immigration enforcement functions under ICE supervision. Proponents argue the program improves access to federal criminal databases beyond the standard NCIC checks, provides equipment and funding for up to $7,500 per participating officer per quarter, and transportation reimbursements up to $100,000 and has produced significant arrests in other states, including.
Now, I wanted to stop him there. Now, did you just hear all of those benefits that the federal government is giving to the state? So they're basically, if it's like, okay, if you're going to work with us, we're going to provide you with funding that we know your state can't do. So when these states participate with 287G, they're getting funding from the federal government to assist. Why would you say, okay, I'm here now and we're just not going to do this? So you're going to put everybody at risk in your state. What is wrong with the Democratic Party? No, I'm going to say the party. I'm not going to say people, because the people, and there are certain people in the Democratic Party, they're just like, oh, well, my party says that we have to do this. So what is wrong with y'all? What is wrong with you? Like, really, what's wrong with you? You're just going to put people at risk. You want to look like Minnesota now. Because yes, there is fraud going on in Virginia. Yeah, side issue. It's everywhere. Trust me. But when I see governors acting in this way, who are you supporting and protecting? Because you're not supporting the citizens of your state. That's obvious. You shut that down. You were just like, nope. We don't care about you. We care about the people that are here illegally over you. And we're going to make sure that the people that are here illegally benefit over you, the American citizen. That's what that says. And you can't take it back. You can't sanitize it and make it something it's not. You would rather support illegal activity than have your state be safe from people here illegally. Like, how did you even get into office? Who voted for this? Virginia. What's wrong with y'all? Because you're caught up in your feelings and you're not voting for your best interest.